to Fred in the Shed 2 and part 2 of this steam Mamod car restoration. So this is how far we got on part 1. I mean, it doesn't look much like a car yet, does it? But everything did test out, and all of my soldering has proved to be okay, and there was no leaks around the little copper rivets there. So yeah, in this part we're going to now sort of reconstruct the car, the chassis, all of the sort of drive chain, the flywheel, and then all the front suspension and the rear wheel, you know, the drive cog and everything else like that. And yeah, get this thing back to sort of looking like a car basically. So hopefully at the end of this video we'll be able to be ready for a live steam test. But first, I've got quite a bit of work to do. Now, there's something intensely satisfying about popping rivets, doing pop rivets when they get that little sort of snap on. Oh, it's just really kind of nice. But of course, the advantage is really, really quick. But the disadvantage is that whereas on the last model I used little nuts and bolts, that was great because I could, if I made a mistake, I could easily undo them. Whereas with pop rivets, although it's sort of very, very quick, and as I say, it's immensely satisfying when they snap, it does mean that if I do make a mistake, which is probably quite likely, I'm going to have to drill them out. And obviously that takes time, and I've only got so many rivets. Got this really great sort of pack here of rivets. Got that from Forest Classics, only about £4 off eBay, and I do supply a few spares that allow you to make the odd mistake. But I'll soon run out. Although I've got some of those rivets knocking about somewhere. But yeah, there is definitely something quite rewarding though about squeezing the old rivet gun and that massive snap when the rivet sort of snaps. But anyway, enough about that. I need to crack on. So, made a mistake. Yeah, it's not really my fault because I'm following the instructions, and of course these are the instructions for the Brooklands Roadster, which had nuts and bolts. So as I said before, you could undo them and sort of redo them up. So we come to fit the mud guards, and I'm following instructions. I've attached the chassis rails to the body, but then one of them needs to go underneath that rivet. So yeah, cocked it up. Oh dear, not so good. So I'm going to have to, unfortunately, drill out those 2 rivets and make sure the mud guards go in underneath. It's just a fact that I'm not blaming the instructions, but it's just because they're for nuts and bolts, and I'm using sort of rivets. I only get one chance on the rivets. So yeah, a bit of a mistake, but I like to show them my mistakes on these Fred videos, because otherwise everyone thinks I'm perfect, and I'm far, far from perfect. So yeah, going to drill those out and then get the mud guards on, but it's not a mess. know cutting a thread on the axles is a good idea, so I can sort of bolt the wheels on. Unfortunately, it does create a slight problem. It didn't quite fit through the drive pulley there, so just had to run a drill very carefully through the drive pulley. There's very little clearance, as you can sort of see, but yeah, that seems to have done the trick. Little things you don't realise. Oh no, on the next model. But yeah, so you got to be a bit careful when you cut threads. It sort of makes the shaft slightly bigger somehow. Yeah, and it's the same problem with the wheels. Just cutting that thread has just made that shaft a little bit too big. So just think it's going to have to run a drill through the sort of centre of the wheel there, just to open it up to get it to fit onto the axle. I have just this minute finished it. It's a good feeling. I actually really enjoyed putting it back together. A few little bits that sort of slowed me down was having to drill out all of the wheels and the drive wheel and the spacers because I'd threaded the axles. But yeah, and also these little black nuts that I'm using just don't look right to me. I think I want to get some sort of brass ones that will match all of the running gear and everything else. But I can do that kind of, you know, in the future, if you like. But the main thing is it's all back together. The steering wheel, unfortunately, lost its sort of plastic coating when I sort of heat it up to get the adhesive to release. I've seen quite a few like that, so it looks a little bit sort of brassy. Yeah, not really much I could sort of do about that. They don't really sort of sell anything that sort of fit. But the main thing is it's back together and it's pretty heavy. You forget how heavy these things are. And yeah, it's looking great. I am very, very pleased how it's turned out. And yeah, it almost looks like new. I mean, it's like a little bit of sort of wear there on the boiler sort of shroud, but that sort of got hot. But I'll do some proper sort of pictures in a minute when I get it outside. But yeah, it looks like new. So I am well chuffed. Fred is well chuffed. So all that remains really is to fire the boiler and see that we get some propulsion. I fitted new drive belts all round, so I'm hoping everything, you know, sort of pulls along, but it should do. So there you go. Yeah, nice restoration job. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Probably will do another one in the future as well. I've got a real kind of feel for this now. I now know how it goes together, and sort of I know the sort of bits to sort of look out for, if you like. I don't think it'd be too much trouble to you know, restore another one. Right, okay, let's get it outside, get it fired up, and let's give it its first proper run. Because I've never seen this running, because as you remember, I had that boiler leak and I couldn't get it running at first. But now that's hopefully all fixed, and we should have something that runs across the floor. Any luck? All right, that's the next bit coming up. So here we are on a glorious sunny afternoon, and just got this ethanol gel, or this napalm as I call it. Give it a nice healthy little splodge on the burner tray there. And yeah, just about to fill up the boiler. No sight glass, of course, on this early model, so you have to fill it until it sort of comes out of the overflow, which is a little bit crude. I do prefer the sight glass, but just how they made them when they first came back out in '77. I believe a year later, around '78, to conform to European regulations. No Brexit in those days. They put in a sight glass for safety, so you could monitor how much water you had in the boiler, and there was little chance of it running out and you sort of damaging the seals or maybe the boiler exploding if the safety valve failed. So the sight glass was a help. Right, okay, just going to fill that up. Any second now that will be dribbling out the front there. There it goes. You see that? Bit messy. But right, okay, we're good to go. We're going to light it up for the first time and see how it runs since it's been restored. Well, she's lit, and I've preheated the deionised water in the microwave there. So all being well, in a few minutes we should be getting a little bit of steam pressure. And for the first time we'll see the wheels move. Because say when I first got this, it had a leak on the boiler and we was unable to generate any steam, so we couldn't run it. So hopefully in a minute we'll get it running across the patio. It's quite exciting actually. That's right, just going to wait for a little bit of pressure to build up. Right, this is for the Thread 2 viewers. I'm a little concerned. I can see a drip coming down from that boiler pipe, or maybe even the rivets. That's concerning me. I'm building up steam, but yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about that. I didn't have that when I test run it before I put the body on. That's a little bit worrying. It might just be there's a little bit of residual water, but bit worried about that. But she's building up some steam pressure here. Some of the oil is clearing through the piston. I think she's getting ready to run, but I'm just a little bit worried about that drip. It's off almost. Right, we're blowing pressure out of the safety valve now, so we're pretty much up there. Try it if we can get it to go into reverse. Let's try him. Just doesn't seem to want to go there. So I've got it down on the floor. It wants to go, but I think I'm losing steam pressure again. Right, there definitely was a bit of a leak on that pipe, but I can't tell whether it's my soldering or it was coming down from the boiler rivets. It's a bit disappointing, obviously losing a little bit of pressure there. But I say, the soldering looks, I mean, it looks good. Zoom in a bit on that. Lost focus. I mean, it looks fine to me. I can't see any cracks or breaks. It's a bit heavily done. So I'm not sure if it was perhaps the boiler rivets, but it certainly was trying, but it just wasn't getting enough pressure. Right, so amazingly, despite the large amount of solder that I was able to put on that pipe, there is a very, very small little leak coming from the join. I can't see. At least I can't. I'm looking at the screen. There you go, there's a little drip there. It might just be a very small crack. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is, as you can see with all this tin foil which I've put around here to try and to protect my paintwork that I spent many hours desperately trying to get a decent finish, so I don't want to really sort of burn any of the paint, but I'm going to get a blowtorch on it and hit it with a blowtorch and just try and reflow that solder, because I have got a lot of solder on there. So I'm hoping if I get some heat on the pipe and then the sort of solder blob itself, which you just can't quite make out in there, but I'm hoping it's just going to reflow. Dumped a load more solder on there. It's the weirdest thing. It's every time you heat it up, it just seems to sort of open up, like there's almost like a piece of grease or something around that sort of aperture, and the hole appears, and you sort of put more solder there, and then it sort of closes, and then as soon as you pull the flame away, it opens up again. I'm not sure if that's got it. I've just dumped a load on, really. She's sizzling. So far, no leaks. A little bit of steam coming out of the piston there. Quite a bit of water though. I might have overfilled it slightly. But she's sizzling away. Let's see if I can try and get the piston to run. There she goes. There she goes. That is a bloody good sight. Hey! Yay! It's a thumbs up from Fred in the shed. Look at her go. Sizzling away there. I need to tighten down the top cap a little bit. What do you think, Ken? She's a runner, Ken. I can't see any leaks. Amazing. Don't think she's quite there yet. I think she needs a bit more pressure than that. No, she's not there yet. She wants to go though. She really wants to go. Get the steering right. Right, just been looking at a few things that might be slowing the sort of wheels down. And I noticed that the crankshaft here was a little bit sort of sticky. So what I've done, I've just introduced a washer. It's not supposed to have that there, but I've put a washer on the crank to loosen that up. But what I've noticed on the piston is there was some corrosion on the edge of the sort of piston sort of shaft here. And I have a feeling that that might also be in the bore itself. I've got a feeling there might be a little bit of corrosion. So I might be a bit careful so I don't ruin the seal, but I might just get a very, very bit of fine emery paper and just try and sort of clean it up. Or give it a bit of a clean. And it feels okay. I think there is a very slight bit of wear to the bore. The moment you sort of take it slightly off of the perfectly straight position, you can sort of feel there's a bit of wear in that bore, unfortunately. But as I say, I can always swap the other one over. But yeah, I think put it back together and give it another run and see if that's made any difference. This will be the last attempt on this video because this one's going on way, way too long. For this attempt, obviously everything's been oiled up, and we did detect a little bit of sort of corrosion in the piston there, so don't know about that. I'm going to use the Mamod wax tablets, just try and get a little bit more heat into it, and I'll give it a run on the patio. But if it hasn't got the torque, the very last chance will be indoors on the sort of laminate. Well, she's alight with the Mamod wax tablets, so let's hope that gets enough steam pressure to get it running. Wants to go. There she goes! There she goes! Hey! There she stops. She runs! She runs! Oh, amazing. A little bit low on torque, and torque wins the race. Shelby said that. There she goes! She's running away. It's slow, but she's running. Wow, she wants to go now. Well, it did cost me a lot of patience. You'll see that on thread 2 if you're watching this on thread 1. A lot of patience was needed. It did test me a little bit, but there she goes. Lovely sound. Out of the way, Kenny. Kenny, out of the way. There she runs. There she runs. I'm in the shot. I'm in the camera. I'm in the sun. Going well now. Chug, 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 chug. Piston really going for it now. going to bring this one to a close. Massive sighs of relief all over YouTube. It has gone on a bit too long, really. It's going to hit 25 minutes, which is a hell of a length of a video. A big thank you for those that have stuck with it. Loyalty and view time, most welcome. So in the end, really pleased how this project has turned out. Physically, the looks of it, I think it looks pretty much almost like new. And in the end, when I finally was able to sort out that leaking pipe there, it ran pretty well. I don't think it ran a lot slower than the green Brooklands Roadster, even though all the gearing is different. And yeah, absolutely made up. Thoroughly pleased to bits with this project. It was all worth it in the end. It did test me a little bit, but I think sometimes you need to be tested to appreciate the finished product. That's it for steam engines for a moment. I have got a Stirling engine kit to build. It's a static engine, a smaller one. We'll be probably doing that in the future. Well, it will be. So stay tuned for that. As always, if you haven't done so, hit that subscribe and maybe that bell notification, and you'll get to know when I'm putting up another Fred in the Shed 2 video. But as for now, as always, cheers, thanks for your view time, thanks for watching, look after each other, stay safe, and of course, I'll catch you all on the next one. Cheers now.